Welcome back. Talking about Metro Schools, we have with us Joe Bass, the External Communications Director. No, that's not right. External Communications Manager.
There you go. And
Chris Weber, the Director of Student Assignment. Both with us from Metro Schools. As student assignment, one of the things you do is you help identify areas in need of new schools. And we talked before the break that it's just hard to find land for that kind of thing. But there's enormous growth in Nashville, in the Antioch area, really all over Nashville. So our capital budget, where do we stand with all of that?
Well, I would say we've been fortunate over the last several years to receive capital funding and good capital funding to help address some of the overcrowding and build schools that we need to build. There's several additions that are underway. There's several new schools that have been built and opened recently, as we talked about, Waverly, Belmont, and Smith Springs. But that needs to continue because the enrollment growth continues to increase, so we need to stay on top of that. Okay.
First Choice Festival. That's another thing that is different than when I went to school. That you can choose. And we talked a few moments ago, 1 out of every 4 students, they're going to a school outside of their zone. And what do you see for the future? Do you see that growing? Do you see it being half? Do you see it being, do you have a target date or a target amount of, as far as students going to a school they choose out of their zone?
We don't have a target amount. We know that when you look at the trajectory of the district, the Davidson County as a whole, the population continues to increase, as does the student-based population. The out-of-zone population, I do predict, will continue to increase just as charter schools open, because charter schools are a choice for public school parents. And so the number of charter schools that are open, as they continue to add grades and as they continue to grow to capacity, then those schools will continue to draw and pull in more students, will increase the out-of-zone choice. The other schools, it's hard to say whether the amount of choice will continue to increase or not.
Yeah, I think our goal is for, not a specific number, but the goal is for every student to be in a school that is best for him or her. We always say that the only way to really know about a school and know if it's right for your child is to visit it, meet the principal and teachers, get to know it better. But I personally don't care if it's your zone school or choice school, as long as it's the right school for your child, and that's fine. I hope that it's your neighborhood school. I hope that it's the school down the street, and that is the best school that fits you. That's not always the case, and as every family's needs are different, every child's needs are different, so we want every child to be in the school that's right for them.
So what is First Choice Festival?
Now you're talking my language. First Choice Festival gets us all really excited. It's the biggest event we have all year. It's 166 schools, every single metro school, in one room in one afternoon, so that as families are looking for their school options, what schools they want to send their children to, whether they're looking for something for next year or the year after that, you got a 2-year-old, you're looking at kindergarten. First Choice Festival is where you can start all your school research. So it's
not too early. Well, I guess we have some information up here now. So you just said 160 plus schools all in one room. Free transportation.
On any MTA bus. You just tell them you're going to First Choice Festival and they'll give you a free ride.
It's this Sunday, is that right?
This Sunday at 1 o'clock at the Music City Center. Okay. That's new this year. We moved it to the Music City Center from the fairgrounds. We're really excited about the move. We're going to have a lot more space, a lot more community partners are going to be there. And the Family Fun Zone, which is added this year. We figured it's called a festival, it might as well feel like a festival. So we got bounce houses, we got puppet shows. The Country Music Hall of Fame is bringing their instrument petting zoo. We're going to have crafts, free books from Bookem. It's going to be fantastic. Plus, you can explore all your school options and see which one's best for your child.
And so all the schools are there, and you go and you could, do the schools have booths, or I guess let's talk about what happens when you walk in that door.
So you walk in the door at the First Choice Festival Music City Center this Sunday. You'll be handed this folder. The folder is going to have a map inside of it that'll show you where the schools are. They each have a booth, like you said. They'll have principals and teachers there to answer your questions and talk to you. They'll hand you some information. We'll have our community partners there as well. You're also going to get information about the school choice process, different facts about food service, transportation, basically everything that you'd want to know about sending your kid to metro schools. You'll get right as you enter the door, and then you can collect more information about schools as you walk through the festival.
And how does this impact what you do?
Well, what this does is this allows the parents to help pick a school that fits their needs. And so this is really about informing parents of the choice process that's coming up and allowing them firsthand experience talking to the schools and learning about those academic programs to determine what best fits their needs.
And so you keep talking about what best fits their needs. What are some of the options that are out there that might surprise the average parent. Okay, so I know that I can go to a school and I'll get reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Right.
So let's say I have a high school student who needs something more exciting.
Sure.
What are some of the options?
Well, you want to take the high school academy? There's a lot of exciting stuff.
High schools, that's wide open. Really, we look for diversity in academic programming. Of course, everybody's getting the reading, the writing, the math, the basics. But it's the school environment can be different from school to school. The school academic programming can be different from school to school. And when we talk about high schools, I mean, it's really wide open. You have the academies in Nashville. You can study health sciences. You can do scientific research with Vanderbilt researchers at Stratford STEM Magnet. You could go to one of our academic magnets. We have Nashville School of the Arts, which is a 100% free public school for the arts with an audition requirement. We have a middle school that has an arts component as well. Paideia for liberal arts and Socratic method. I mean, you're really talking about that's a broad question, Ben. we basically have something for everyone.
I'm interested in that, and I want to narrow that down. So
sure.
The School of the Arts. Sure. There's an audition requirement.
Right.
All right, so let's say I have a child and they want to be in drama. And of course I want them to have math and science and reading, but they're all about, they want to be an actor one day.
Right.
Or a singer, I don't know.
Right.
And that's not the case. But what about, how does that work with Nashville School of the Arts?
Nashville School of the Arts is a fantastic school. It stresses rigorous academics and the arts as well. So it's divided in different conservatories for, like dance, there's vocal performance, there's drama, visual arts, different conservatories. So they get a lot of arts-focused education, but they're also studying all the basics, and they're also getting an advanced academics component. Well, one thing that NSA, that's National School of the Arts, has taken advantage of is our virtual school, which lets students take classes online. So that if a student wants to take an extra dance class, they can take, say, PE or a history class online in their spare time. So they still get the academic required classes. They can take the extra arts classes as well. And NSA, their academics are really going way up. In fact, this year they have a National Merit semifinalist, which is a really big deal. It's a national competition for high school juniors. So NSA is for sure a school to watch. And there is this audition. Who sits in on the audition? Who determines whether you are, what is it? I guess it's not a math competition, right? I mean, they're singing or dancing or doing something. Well, it's an audition because space is limited, and we have a lot of artistically minded folks here in Nashville. So it's the principal and it's different teachers from the different conservatories, and they'll watch the student auditions and decide who gets in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And people don't, maybe people know about it, but I think that's very interesting. Yeah. What about science? Let's say there's somebody who is interested in astronomy. Is there, and I totally made that up, but is there something like that? Like Dyer Observatory, I think is a great place. Absolutely. Is there something along those lines? Let's say I had a... astronomy, you may have stumped me. I know we have a lot of science-minded schools. We have STEM Magnet Elementary School, middle schools, and then Stratford STEM Magnet High. Rose Park and MLK have math, science focus. There's several others that have math and science focus and engineering. But astronomy may have stumped me. I'm sure it exists. I just can't name the school off the top of my head. Okay. And then... That's why you got to come to First Choice Festival. That's good. Yeah, come to First Choice Festival and see. And there was a school that was here. I think Dr. Register brought several principals, and there was a principal who, there was a major broadcasting component. Yeah. And maybe I feel sorry for those students, knowing what may await them, but I'm just kidding, again. Just kidding. But what about that aspect? Yeah, we have a couple of schools that offer that at the high school level. First and foremost, of course, is Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet, which has a broadcasting pathway, and they have a television set that, I'm sorry to say, might rival this one, donated by the Golf Channel, where they produce newscasts and television productions as part of their class. But then we have other schools, academy schools like that have academies of broadcasting or digital arts, where they do a lot of videography. McGavick has a great program where they have a news set in the Mac Lab for video editing and broadcasting, and actually pretty decent camera equipment too. They're getting a lot of hands-on experience, stuff that, as someone who went into TV at one point, I wish that I had in high school, because I maybe would have had a little more experience before I went into the business. Well, it is amazing that they would do that. I mean, because we didn't have that. That was not anything we had in high school. No, and that's what we're talking about with diversity programming, is that no matter what your kid is interested in, there is going to be a school that offers that. And so if your kid is really into film and television, then they can pursue that track. And they can go to a school that
that integrates that into what they're learning.
Right.
And hopefully that keeps them interested in school, and then they graduate.
That's exactly the point. It's, you know, there's been a lot of talk about, or there was at one point, about these kinds of programs preparing people for jobs. And, you know, the career is one component. But much more important than that is just keeping the kids engaged. Because when I went to high school, I had a good experience. I found things to be engaged in. But, you know, the high schools now are divided in such a way that if almost no matter what you're interested in, you can study that almost all day long, so that you are more interested in English class because you are learning about things that are tied to an area of interest for you. So it's all about keeping kids engaged in school, and not so much about the end goal of the career.
So this First Choice Festival it's communications. It's your main thing.
It's one of our it's our biggest event of the year. Yeah.
And then what happens for you with First Choice Festival?
So First Choice Festival for us kicks off the actual application process. So we after the First Choice Festival, we're encouraging families to visit schools, and so then in the month of October there'll be walkthrough Tuesdays where families can go visit the schools and actually see the school in session, to see the culture and climate and to see the learning activities that are going on. November 2nd is the big day when the application actually gets released. So November 2nd, every student in the district will be sent home a school choice application that explains how to apply, what the options are, and so they can further explore that. The next big date is December 4th, which is the deadline. So families have about a month, the month of November, to figure out what choices they want to apply for and then submit that application. That can be done on our website through an online application, or it can be submitted through paper. And then following that, all of those applications will be ran through a random selection process. The results will be released in January.
Which means now is the time.
That's
Obviously
right.
You're having this now because you've got to be thinking about next year. It seems early, but now is the time to go to this, figure out what school you want, and then walk through it.
Exactly.
And apply for it. And this, I focus on high schools, but does it include elementary and middle, or what about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember the exact number of elementary and middle schools, but there's a total of 88 schools that are on the application. So there's a wide range of choices through each tier level, elementary, middle, and high school. Yep.
More than half of our schools are available for application this year.
And how tough is it to get your number one choice? Do you know, like, is there a percentage? You know, how often do people get their number one choice?
Well, historically, if you looked at the past couple of years, it depends on the number of schools you pick. So if you picked one school and you only picked one school, you might stand like let's see, I actually have that here, like a 58% shot of getting in that one school. But if you pick more than that, the more schools, you could pick up to 7 schools on your application. And so the more schools you pick, the higher the likelihood. Historically, we've ran about 85% if you pick 3 or more schools. This year with high school choice, it kind of skewed the numbers actually higher, where more students are getting in. But right now in grades K through 8, 91% of families that applied for 3 or more schools actually got one of their school picks.
91%. And does this include the magnet schools as well?
Yes.
So that they're all part of this?
Zone schools, magnet schools, charter schools, specialty schools, they're all on the application.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back, continue the discussion. There's the number if you want to call, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break, be back right after this.